Welcome to the Tipsy Guest Podcast. I am your host, Marco Buenrostro, and every week I'm here with the top industry experts, amazing clients, and all my vendor BFFs to bring you the best tips, advice, and juicy behind-the-scenes stories to make wedding and event planning a breeze. So grab your favorite drink and let's get this party started! Hey guys, this is Marco with the Tipsy Guest, and today we have Ryan Hamilton from Ryan Hamilton Photography. What's going on?
Good morning. How you doing?
You sound very Broadway. Ryan Hamilton.
Would like to be. I know there's a comedian with my name. He's doing much better, obviously. He's got a Netflix special. You can check him out while you're Googling me. So.
Oh, well, good for your SEO.
I know.
Not in the right way, but...
Well, whenever you search him, I pop up, and then that's how I met him in Austin. I said, hey, I know your face. And he's like, oh, you're the photographer.
That's so funny.
So he Googles himself, and I pop up, and vice versa. Yeah. So Ryan Hamilton.
Now I'm going to Google him.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Ryan, so you're a photographer.
That's right.
Let our listeners know, how long have you been in business? What type of photography you do? We want to know everything about you.
Man, started shooting weddings and events in 2004. And worked your way through a couple gigs here and there, and finally went full-time in 2011. And since then, you live and die by the season. So it's so it's been what is math on 15 years?
Okay, I was going to say, I'm really bad with numbers, but okay.
Yeah, 11D.
Okay.
So
and then,
15 years full time, yeah.
And are you just wedding photography, or do you do corporate events, birthdays? Like, what's your specialty?
Primarily weddings and portraits, and I'll do some corporate events here and there. I've done the birthdays for friends and family and things like that, but generally speaking, adults mostly, yeah.
Do you normally have those friends that are like, oh yeah, we have a photographer. Hey, can you just come and do some, like, on the side, or?
Yeah, I will politely decline if I'm invited to a party, I'll show up. If I have my camera, I ask to be a vendor. I generally don't like the, hey, come to my party and bring your camera.
Like specifically, like you don't want to be the...
Either I'm working or I'm not.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I have all these people that are always messaging me, and they're like, hey, so we're going to have a party this weekend, and I already know where it's going. And they're like, do you happen to have a photo booth available that you can just, bring along and set it up? And, you don't even have to be attached to it. We can just set it up and leave it there, and people can just take photos. I'm like, well, how much are we talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want to, if I'm going to go to your party as a guest, I want to be a guest. I don't want to worry about getting there early to make sure that I set up and then staying up late just to make sure that I take down. It's like, no.
Right. If I'm building the haunted house with U-Haul boxes, I'm going to be able to play in it. There's no way I'm going to build you a haunted house out of U-Haul boxes and then just walk away. No, I'm working or I'm not. Yeah.
Yep. That's the way to go. So photography, and you said that you've been doing it for quite a while.
Sure.
What are some of so today we're going to be talking about what we do as vendors at weddings, for example. One of the topics, or one of the things that pop up every single time as vendors, whenever we're talking to the planners or we're talking to the couples, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that, of course, the guests are never going to know. That like nobody knows about this stuff, only vendors, as we're preparing for the big day.
Some dirty secrets for sure.
Yeah, so today's episode is going to be fun because we're going to be spilling all the tea
on the laundry
on what goes on behind the scenes as vendors are getting ready for an event.
The dirty skivvies.
Yep. And so have you ever dealt with a planner that is like all over the place, and you're like, hey, like, I need to know details, like, what's going on? Like, or let me ask you, do you normally deal with the planner, or do you normally deal with the couple directly?
Oh, it depends. If they have a planner, I will instruct the couple, how they want me to approach it. If they prefer me to continue asking questions, emails, texts, all that kind of stuff. But usually if they have a planner or coordinator, I know that they are my contact. And I kind of prefer that because I don't want the bride to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I want the bride to enjoy the day, even if we have a pretty strict timeline. I'd like them not to be overwhelmed because you're going to have not only my camera, my assistant's camera, a video team. But every cell phone in the world is going to pop up in your face for like 8 hours straight. So, if I know when dinner is, I usually instruct them when building a timeline with our discussions. Start with sunset and then work your way back. Sunset is the golden hour. After that, you've got dark, and we're using strobe. So we're getting two different types of photos. So if I have to keep asking you that question during dinner, hey, are we going out? Hey, are we going out? Hey, are we going out? Hopefully it's already in the timeline, and I can just talk to the planner. Hey, what time are we heading out? Is it before or after dinner? Sunset to 7:30. Are we going out at 7:30 or are we going out at 7? So we're not pestering the couple all night.
Okay.
And I think that's the best way that I figure out to do it. Is just to ask them ahead of time, keep communication open. And if they want my input outside of the planner, or if they prefer I just go towards the planner and get directed by them, it's fine with me.
Have you ever had a conflict where, because I know, we talk as vendors, we talk to each other all the time. I've had several vendors that have mentioned like, oh yeah, there's an agreement between us and the couple, we go over the timeline, and also, of course, the planner as well. But then where the planner is wanting to change things last minute, like at the wedding, and you're like, well, I need to clear this with the couple. And, like a conflict, almost like, the planner is saying something and you had agreed on something different with the couple. How have you ever had a situation like that?
Yeah, I understand that. It's a live event. It's a fluid situation. So even if we've discussed something previously, let's say I meet the couple at a wedding show or something, one of the expos, or we meet online and we meet at a coffee shop and we discuss things, and I know they have their heart set on a certain photo or a certain pose before after the dance, for example, and the day of, there's hair and makeup, there's the dress, there's catering, there's all kinds of events that can take longer. You can adjust the timeline. So usually I'll defer to the planner again. If the planner says something, they're the director, they're in charge. I might give a little side eye to the bride. Like, are we good? Are we still doing this? But generally speaking, I hate to assume, but during a live event, I like to say that the planner's in charge, and they're the boss. That's why they're hired. And generally speaking, it makes the evening go smoother if I just listen to what the planner says. I hope that the bride has her input already with the planner.
Yeah. And speaking of, like you working directly with the planner and of course the other vendors as well, I feel like the photographer and the planner are probably the ones that spend the most time there the day of the wedding. I mean, because you have to capture like early on in the day and then of course stay up until, the very end. What does just a normal day at a wedding look like for you? What time do you get there?
Oh, yeah. Depends on the venue and depends on the timeline. I would say like a general event, let's say you're starting in the morning, hair and makeup, getting ready. And during that time, we will do details, jewelry, dress, shoes, all that fun stuff. So let's say they're getting married in a chapel. Let's say San Fernando. Yeah, that swine flu, downtown San Antonio, San Fernando, is a beautiful cathedral, but they definitely squeeze in several weddings, several events. There's probably 2 weddings and then a quince or something like that. So, if we have an early wedding, then definitely the earlier getting ready is going to be the main thing. So like a 8 a.m. start time because the ceremony is at noon. That kind of a thing. So hair and makeup will get there first, and then photo, and then maybe a video team, and we'll start doing details. We'll start doing the hair and makeup. We like to document, but I also love doing a little more of an editorial approach, kind of letting hair and makeup do their thing versus being in their grill the whole time. I think it kind of slows them down if I'm jockeying for the same spot while they're doing touch-ups and whatnot. So I will kind of let hair and makeup mostly finish, and then I'll say, hey, I'm going to stage a few photos. Can you just put your your brush for the rouge. Just kind of leave it right there. Can you pretend to put lipstick on for the photo? And we will do a couple stage photos like that.
I always wondered how those photos always look so perfect.
Well,
it makes sense now.
A lot of them are not live. Live in the sense of, it's a real event for sure. But it's hey, just give me a quick 5 minutes before you finish. And then others, you got editorial shoots specifically for the hair and makeup artist or the brand of makeup. And you do like a styled shoot or something.
I like, all the stuff that you have, I see you all the time at open houses and the wedding shows and things like that. And you're always, the stuff you showcase, it pretty much sells itself. Your work is so good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No, it's incredible. You've been doing this for such a long time that do you still find yourself like trying to find new ways on how to approach, I guess, photography in general, or you're like, you know what, I'm pretty set on my style, and this is what I do. People like me because of this.
Half and half, yeah. I'm always looking for something new. I think as a creative, you're always looking to change, either change it up or try something different, whether it's new gear or a new technique. But overall, I would say I shoot my receptions pretty similarly the past 20 years, whatever it is, working for other studios and then working for myself. Receptions are generally the same, but maybe I'll add a little more creativity to it. And but when it comes down time for always changing and always trying to improve, every venue is different. Every couple is different, so different decor. A colleague 100 years ago said, what if we just had stock footage of every venue so that if we forget something, we can refer to a folder and just say, oh, this is the shot of the chapel, the shot of the hall, or this is the table setup. But you can't do that because every day is different.
It's different, yeah. Everybody's so unique.
Everyone's bouquets are different. The tablescapes, whether they have just a nice centerpiece and flowers, or they've got some really intricate detail. A lot of fun little tchotchkes, a Star Wars themed wedding with all the little figures and whatnot.
Yeah.
You can't recreate that and hold it in the folder for the next
for somebody else. Yeah,
exactly.
Which comes to getting back to the drama here. Dude, have you ever had another photographer steal your work or use your work posing as theirs?
Oh, I have not that I know of, thankfully. I've heard some horror stories for sure. And if you're on social media, as long as I guess 2007 was when it kind of kicked off. Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of some bad breath. It's how they get you. Before I start, choose some Trident, kids. This is it's a sensitive topic for sure because it does happen.
Yeah,
and you do have those bad actors. I like to say everybody gets a slap on the wrist once, but this isn't the 60s where things are just floating around. This isn't the advent of Google. You know what's going on now. If you play stupid, you really have been under a rock for a while. To jack someone else's images, using as your own.
So horrible, and it happens all the time.
I hate hearing that, yeah. And I don't care what level you're at. If you are, speaking in conferences, if you're making a couple million a year, or if you're just a weekend warrior, soccer mom, nobody wants their work stolen,
Yeah, no, especially, I feel like with photography, it's so easy to just grab somebody's image and be like, well, I'm going to be shooting similar to this. So let me just use this image and show it to a couple and be like, yeah, look, this is my work. I see it every day in Facebook groups where vendors talk about things or, when couples are looking for vendors and stuff like that, like people promoting their business. And it's like, you're like, that's not your work. Yeah. I've seen your website, and what you're showing me right now, this is not. If this is your best work, why is this not on your website?
Exactly. Yeah. Funny story. I went to a national conference, and this is a big name national conference. All the big vendors are there. All the print labs, the albums. They're trying to get their products sold to the photographers. So that they can sell and in turn resell them to the brides, right? And I saw some familiar prints and some familiar images, and I thought, this print lab just jacked one of my friends' work because it's a very specific style, very beautiful, and so I'm staring right at these photos, and I thought these photos are amazing. There's no way they duplicated these shots. There's no way they did them themselves, like right afterwards, right? So I called up my friend and I said, I'm staring at your photos right now at this booth in the conference. And she's like, oh, yeah, I know. I'm sponsored. Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, at that point, then
yeah, I'll just shut up and.
But look at you watching out for your friend.
I was trying to stir up some drama, I guess, and it just didn't happen. So
I love that. The thing is, like, I'm very protective of my stuff. Like as a photo booth, we take photos. They're a lot more casual than like an actual photographer. But I'm very protective. So when I see newer photo booth companies out there, promoting their new business, and they're not even using their images. Yeah. To me, it's like, okay, so did you borrow those photos from the owner, or did you just grab them thinking that nobody's gonna find out? Right. I mean, I know, just like you, like you go to conferences. I go to photo booth conferences all the time, so I know photo booth owners in so many different parts of the United States, Mexico, in other countries. Yeah. So, we create those connections. You become friends with them. So eventually, their work. Yeah. There was one photo of my company where it was a picture of me. I was in the shot, and it was one of my 360 photo booths, and we have like a lot of confetti. It's a really, really cool photo. So, as part of like the Facebook group of photo booth owners, it was so funny because almost like every week I would get a message from somebody in another part of the country, and they're like, Marco, this company is using your photo. This company is using your, and they would send me like the screenshots of their websites or their Instagram and stuff. And it just happens, people just Google, let me Google a 360 photo booth, and that photo popped up, and they used it as their own. So it was fun at one point, like messaging them and be like, hey, like that's my photo. Or now I'm just like, whatever. Yeah. Like, like if you're using that photo and then you don't deliver the same type of service, like people are gonna know, that you're faking your social media, material or content, and you're not really delivering the services.
I think it can get old after a while, especially if you're just a top tier shooter and everybody knows your work, and then you continue to see it out there, and maybe you send a cease and desist, right? Or you send an email, you get a lawyer, all that fun stuff. But after a while, it's just it kind of drags you down, and it makes your work time and not your couch time a lot harder, a lot longer than it needs to be. Like we mentioned off camera before, if I'm not on my couch in my underwear, I'm working. So if I'm answering your emails, or if we're talking about weddings, if I'm responding to emails, if someone stole my work and I'm responding to that, that's work. So if I'm not watching Archer or something, if I'm not, if I'm not chilling, doing absolutely nothing, vegging out, getting brain dead, like I want to be left alone give me 45 minutes. Yeah. Let me recharge. Those salsa verde Doritos, man, they'll get you.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of Doritos.
Yeah, right. You got some?
Speaking of food right here.
Oh, here we go.
For our couples that are listening out there, we always try to, we always talk to you guys throughout the process of, the booking and leading up to the big day. One of the topics that's always, controversial amongst vendors is food. Man. The famous vendor meal.
Man, what a topic.
So the vendor meal, I always hear some vendors complaining like, hey, we didn't even get fed. We didn't get food, blah, blah, blah.
Always hear.
And then I hear some other vendors like, oh my God, we love working weddings because those vendor meals are amazing and blah, blah, blah. So what's your opinion on vendor meals? Should the couples provide a vendor meal for every vendor at a wedding? Are there only certain vendors that should get it? What are your thoughts on that?
This is a topic, a tale as old as time. Man, this topic starts battles. Borders have been built. I mean, families marry to avoid this. This will start some drama for sure. But man, in my humble little opinion, Yes, I think it's customary. And again, all of this can be hashed out, discussed beforehand.
Yeah.
So if you're just not talking to your couple, but also the couple, if they just don't know to ask, generally speaking, this is a once in a lifetime event. You're not replacing your deck every 10 years. You know, you're not getting your oil changed every couple thousand miles. You get married, you get your album, and you're done. You go off and have babies and buy a ranch in the middle of nowhere, and that's it. But yeah, for a live event, especially photo, video, DJ, there we go. Maybe even the planner. It's generally customary to feed them along with your guests. I think when I talk to couples, I don't demand food. I don't need food. I don't request a certain style or a certain dish, whatever. I don't have allergies, that kind of thing. I'm allergic to an honest day's work is what I'm allergic to. I think a lot of folks in their contracts, for example, will demand to eat what the guests eat.
Yeah. And
I love that. If I would love some prime rib too. Like, I want to eat what Grammy and Grandpa are chowing down over there for sure. I don't love, but I accept it because I know I'm a vendor. You know, I've been a bar back before. Bar back, I'm not even, I'm high on the scale. You know, I know where I am in life. To quote the great Eminem, of course, you got to stop living up here and start living down here. You enjoy life so much better if you just chill. You know where you are, man. And I picture like Eminem in some robe, like on Ghostbusters.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't want to picture that though. It's a whole different topic. But yeah, so generally speaking, again, to have your vendors fed, and to feed them while the bride and groom are eating as well. A lot of folks, or even planners, for example, will say, we don't feed vendors until the end. And in my humble experience, once the bride and groom are done eating, they will start walking around and saying hello to everybody, start doing little hellos and how are yous and high fives and whatnot, and the vendors are eating. So in my experience, I want to get my food knocked out, fill my belly, whether I'm being fed the catering meal, or if they've told me, hey, the catering is just way too expensive. We can't give you a plate because it's $80, $100, whatever it is.
Yeah.
$200 per person. So if I know ahead of time, man, I will pull over and grab some chicken nuggies on the way over, just so I know I've got something. I'll grab a Subway on the way over. I'll do something, a little hoagie sandwich, right? I will make sure that I'm fed, that I'm good to go, a Cliff Bar and a drink or something.
Yeah.
But I will tell brides that when you are off, and again, respectfully as possible, all the hugs invited, a quote-unquote vendor meal, when a planner or a caterer uses that term, that generally means a sandwich and an apple and a cookie.
Yeah.
And it might cost just as much as what you're feeding your guests. So prime rib costs $80, and then a sandwich where I can get it at the gas station for $2.50 is going to cost you another $80 or whatever the price is. You know, don't quote me on that. So respectfully, I would rather just pick my own soggy sandwich at the gas station or wherever. I'll jack some homeless dude's lunch for sure. Give me that. I need some nutrition. So yeah, I will politely inform the couple, I appreciate you feeding us, but a vendor meal is not what we're asking for. We're asking for just, generally it's just time to eat, time to recharge, time to be left alone for like 5 or 10 minutes. Cause it is a creative gig and you got to keep your head in the game. You know, you're always thinking about lighting and shadows and do I have enough battery left? Ceremony to family photos is kind of a longer part of the event, and then all of a sudden you get to the reception, and the reception is one thing after the other. You know, it's entrance, dinner, dancing, bouquet and garter, cake, maybe a dollar dance. All these things kind of happen every half hour, and you may not have that time to run back to your bag, change batteries, change lenses. So like that dinner time is kind of a key component to the timeline of give me a minute to woosah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like that. Yeah. So, and the reason why we're talking about this is because, you know, our couples, like you said, you know, this is a once in a lifetime event. So sometimes they don't know what they don't know, you know, and sometimes, you know, this is where planners come into place, you know, where they kind of explain to the couples, you know, what needs to be done, which, you know, another topic, it's like, do we tip the vendors? You know, like couples don't know. Well, how much should we tip and who should we tip? You know, do we have to tip every single vendor? Do we have to feed every single vendor? So I feel like this is something, you know, where of course, yeah, you can do your own research, but I feel like maybe like the planner can kind of help with that, you know, where they can educate their couples on, oh yeah, you know, you're supposed to, or, you know, it's nice to tip, you know, every vendor, or, you know, the main vendors that are there like almost the entire day or whatever. So yeah, just, you know, things that you don't know as couples out there. Make sure you ask. You know, ask your planner. You know, there's a lot of Facebook groups out there. There's books. There's, you know, like podcasts like this where you know we try to give you guys an idea of some of the stuff that you don't necessarily know. But yes, vendor meals was definitely one of my that's always a topic at every wedding that we do. Like, you know, you always talk to the vendors, and the food is always one of them.
Absolutely. You talk to the vendors, and it can get heated. And you go on to Facebook after a long October, November, when there's no vacation time in October, November. You're working.
Never.
For sure. If you're not working for yourself, you're working for somebody else. And, you know, this goes on and on. And that topic can get heated. Like I've said, fists can be thrown. And of course, you got these folks at midnight, and they're hangry.
Yep.
And they've driven home, and they've dropped their bags off. And again, they've been doing this however long. And the one part of their gig was, nobody fed me. Yeah. I had to stop at McDonald's at 4 in the morning.
I love my food. And then after hours, I guess, there's only a few things you can get: McDonald's, Whataburger, Taco Palenque.
I think that Cane's is open late. We got a Cane's down here.
Oh wow!
So there's another option. Taco Cabana is no longer 24 hours. It's like 9 o'clock.
What?
Are we like 85 years old? Like
that is insane to me. I mean, I'm a Taco Palenque person, and Taco Palenque is 24 hours.
Oh, good.
So that's my go-to every time after an event.
I will say, I live in the hood, and the hole in the wall restaurants are amazing. But yeah, they're family owned.
They close early.
They close it. You know, hopefully they close at 11. If not, 10, 9, 8:30. You know, but if they're open to 11, and I have a gig that lets out early, I will call ahead, and I will say, you know who I am. I'm coming. I want the white boy special. I'll be there in 15.
I like that.
Oh, and I'm on there, and I get the brown paper bag, and they know it's me.
It's ready to go.
I get handshakes and hugs, and I'm like, I know, I'm here. Thanks,
That's
guys.
so funny.
I'm going to keep y'all in business one more day.
Oh, my God. All right, Ryan, well, we're running out of time, but I want you to let our listeners know where can they find you on social media or your website or a phone number, something that they can get in touch with you in case that they need a fabulous photographer for their big day.
Photographer is a way to put it for sure. You can put me down on your Instagram, Ryan Hamilton Photography. The same thing on Facebook. I think it's like R Hamilton Photo. There's some dude somewhere else that stole it before me, I guess. My website is ryanhamiltonphoto.com. And you've got my weddings, my portraits. I do some maternity. I do a little booty as well. That's boudoir. Sorry.
I was just going to ask.
The boudoir. I know I'm a dude in the industry. I get it. But a link to my work is on there. But ryanhamiltonphoto.com. My packages, prices, albums, all that fun stuff.
Perfect.
Everyone's happy and excited. So puppy dogs and ice cream, you know.
All right. So we'll make sure we put your information down as well in the blog for the episode and the show notes. So make sure you follow Ryan. And Ryan, this is your open invitation to come back whenever.
Sounds good.
We would love to have you again.
Well, would love to do a deep dive. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's some other good topics that we can definitely discuss. And I think I have one in mind.
All right.
Yeah. So we'll definitely have you back. To our listeners, thank you so much. Make sure you tell all your engaged BFFs to check out the podcast. We're on every single week with vendors, trying to give you the best information so that your wedding planning is a breeze. Make sure you follow us on social media. Send us a DM. Send us your questions, and I'll be happy to reach out to some of your favorite vendors. If you want us to have them on the podcast, just let us know who.
Slide into them DMs.
All right, guys. Next time. Cheers. Thanks for listening to the Tipsy Guest podcast. If you know someone who could benefit from these tips, spread the love and share it with them. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Next round's on us. Same time, same place. Cheers! This podcast is brought to you by MVP Photo Booth, the #1 photo booth rental company in San Antonio, Austin, and Central Texas.